Don't let this little piece of information burn you on your next diag. Check this out. All right, so we're working on a 2008 Mercedes GL 550, and something that I learned early on looking at live data. So we're looking at the ambient temperature sensor, and it's showing us in Fahrenheit, as you see here, -40. Now, if we jump the two wires for our ambient temperature sensor, if you watch the scan, it will, once I jump them together, it goes up to 185 degrees, which is maxes out, which is great. But here's the tricky part, right? If we go into a different module, so that's, as you saw, 185. Right now we're in the air conditioning module. If we go back out and go into the engine control module, right? Let's find the engine control module. And now let's look at that same ambient temperature reading. Here's your ambient temperature reading. That's reading 30.56 degrees. Even though, as you saw in the air conditioning module, it was reading something different. I do open circuit now, and again, that reading doesn't change. So here's the important thing to keep in mind when you are looking at live data and values. If you have a voltage reading on your display, that will always be accurate. Meaning if it's displaying, like in this case, if you look at this coolant temperature sensor, you have a temperature reading that's in Fahrenheit, and then you have a signal voltage of that same sensor, 3.4 degrees. That 3.4 degrees will always be accurate as what the computer is seeing. The temperature, however, may or may not be accurate. That's a buffered number, meaning that the computer is receiving that voltage from the sensor, or the signal from the sensor, and it's then outputting a message of that temperature. Now that message could be a default message of the last good known reading. It might be something that it defaults to when it detects a fault. It may be something that's a delayed reading, like in the case of an ambient temperature display on your cluster, which is usually delayed until you drive the car for a little bit. So when you're looking at these live data with your scancel, just remember your process readings like temperatures and pressures, things of that nature, are not always accurate. Your voltages will always be accurate. So something to keep in mind when you're diagnosing stuff.